Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day number 6 of our World Race Battle Tournament. The first two countries that will be put up against each other in today's rounds are Italy and Brazil. Both racers have already lost one of the members in their team, and now they're looking to redeem themselves here. Right now, Brazil has the lead with a slight outside lane, but they're the first one to the jump. They land it. Oh my goodness, they flip over, allowing Italy to pass them and get the win. Definitely not a way to start out for sure, but now Brazil will have to finish faster than 6.3601 in order to move on. And you can see Brazil started to rotate sideways a little bit, and that caused them to get off balance upon landing, resulting in them flipping over. But now 6.3601 is the time to beat by Italy. Can Brazil do it? They will have the inside lane now. Let's see if they take advantage of it. So far they do, as they're multiple lengths ahead and back in first place, and they had a much cleaner landing, causing them to not flip over until after they crossed the finish line. But was it quicker? It was, with a 5.9237. Not quite the fastest time yet, which is still held by India with a 5.6653. But this is definitely good for Brazil. So Brazil is moving on to the next part, and Italy is out. Now we have Puerto Rico and Mexico. Two more teams with only 3 members left. They're just about even, but as they get to the turn, they split up. Now we have a much more definitive lead here. So let's see what time they pulled off here. A 6.4568, which is not quite the time you want to be pulling off at this point. You want to try and get underneath 6 seconds if you can, especially given how fast some of these other races have been, including just now. But with that, Puerto Rico has the time set and the time to beat. Mexico has to finish faster than that now, otherwise they are out. And they're already trailing behind. Can they take advantage of the inside lane? Not entirely. Puerto Rico is still in front, and they skid around trying to keep Mexico from passing them, and they succeed. So regardless of what time they have here, Puerto Rico is the one that's going to move on. Now there was a little bit of a bumpy landing for both of them, especially on Puerto Rico's part, but they still managed to keep upright and finish the race. Now let's see what happens between Japan and the Philippines. The Philippines are one of the remaining teams that still has all of their racers right now, so I'm sure they would like to keep that going. A mostly clean landing. Their back end popped loose for a moment and they skidded sideways by the time they got to the finish line. But they still managed to finish in first. And it looks like we may have a non-finisher actually. Let's see where they ended up. They're actually off the track, almost blending in with the ground. We're going to have to see what happened. Chances are it has something to do with how they landed. But they actually got... It looks like they managed to get through the jump, but they couldn't regain control upon landing, so this is not looking good for the Philippines. They will need to finish faster than the time that Japan just pulled, otherwise they will be taken off the list of teams that have all 4 members still. And it looks like they did finish in first with a fantastic block at the last moment. And the time is... I want to say that might have been slightly quicker. We'll have to double check what the first time was set by Japan. But that was about as close as you can get. They might have just pulled it off by the skin of their teeth. And they did, by a very small fraction of a second, no less. Now we move on to Canada and Uruguay. Canada is one of the other teams who still has all 4 members of their squad. But they are falling behind already by multiple lengths. Uruguay, my apologies. They got through the jump just fine, and they finished in front of Canada. 6.1003. That is not quite the 6-second mark, but it was close. They had a very smooth landing, though, very little bouncing. And I think that really helped them in the end. So Canada is now in trouble. They have to finish faster than 6.1003. And here we go. Canada does have the lead for the moment, as well as the inside lane. So let's see what happens when they get to the jump. They flip over, and they are automatically getting knocked out here. Now, just as a reminder, just because one of your racers is knocked out doesn't mean your entire team is. That'll only happen when all 4 members have lost. And so far, everyone still has at least 3 of their members, I'm pretty sure. But with Canada being knocked out, I believe there's only about, I want to say 5, maybe 6 teams remaining that still have all of their racers, with the Philippines being one of them. Now for today's one of the final rounds, it is Brazil and Puerto Rico. Brazil has a bit of a lead here and the inside lane, and so far they are taking advantage of it. The first through the turn, they start to skid a little bit, but they save it and get the win. So let's see what time they pulled off after that. 6.1659, that is decent, but again, at this point in the tournament, you want to try and finish under 6 seconds. It is difficult, seemingly, but if you can pull it off, then that tells everyone else you are a force to be reckoned with. Now Puerto Rico has to pull off a faster time than that, otherwise they lose one of their racers here. Let's see if they take full advantage of the inside lane or not. They are already behind, and Brazil maintains the lead despite having the outside lane, and that lead just seemed to grow until the end. So Puerto Rico has lost another racer here, but at least Brazil seems to be consistent. So that is one of the 2 racers moving on. And we'll see in a moment who the other one's going to be. And then we'll have the rematch that we hinted at the beginning of this video. But for now, it is Philippines and Uruguay. Philippines is just a couple races away from staying as one of the few teams remaining with all 4 members. And so far, they are out in front by a wide margin. A little bit of bouncing, but they hardly rotated at all. And they finished quite cleanly. With a 5.9734 no less. They managed to finish under 6 seconds. Not the fastest time, but again, anything under 6 seconds is a lot more promising. And they're showing why they are a team to be recognized. Now Uruguay has to finish under 6 seconds themselves in order to have a shot. Otherwise, this member of their team is getting eliminated. But here comes the Philippines again. Despite having the outside lane, they cut Uruguay off multiple times, and they grab the win, so Uruguay is losing another one, while the Philippines remain with all 4 racers on their team, at least for now. That was a bit of a slower time, but I think Philippines were focused more on stopping the other racer from passing them, which in this case actually worked. So now with both racers moving on, we are now going to go back to USA and Switzerland, because USA apparently had the inside lane both times the last time these 2 faced off. So now we are going to fix that. Right now they are neck and neck, but Switzerland has the inside lane, and now they have the lead. They are heading towards the finish, but the US manages to pass them after the jump. I think they had a slightly smoother landing, but we'll take a look again in a moment. Switzerland was able to get through first, but despite the wacky bounce, the US was able to regain control a lot faster. And they actually used Switzerland to straighten out a little bit. So it's still in favor of the USA, who was declared to move on last time. And they still could here, which is something they need because they already have lost one of their members before this. And they are way ahead of Switzerland in this case, rocketing towards the finish line with very little issue. And they pulled up a fantastic time of 5.8107 after that. Now take a look at this jump. Their right end got loose for a second, but they managed to get it back on the ground before it caught the railing of the side of the track. If they had stayed off the walls at the very end, they might have been able to pull off something even better. So despite having a rematch and another opportunity, Switzerland is still knocked out, allowing the USA to rejoin Brazil and the Philippines in the next round. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time.